Welcome to the real journey of the entrepreneur. The journey of any entrepreneur begins with a decision, then writing down your vision, then the execution of that vision. It is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who understand how powerful your mind is and that you can truly create the life that you deserve. It does require a unique formula that includes belief in yourself, a lot of consistency, connecting with an OG, a lot of tears, missing out on a few events and things, and taking a whole lot of risks that will allow you to see your vision and dream come to pass. This journey of the entrepreneur is from the perspective of a wonderful mother, a business owner, whose goal is to break generational barriers and normalize the process of wealth building and financial wellness through entrepreneurship, all while creating a social and give back along the way. I am sharing this journey with you and invite you to share this process with me. Let's do this together. It's my own, but you have to feel comfortable to own it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I will always support you.
Thank you.
Well, hello there, good people. Hello. I'm so excited to have you join us for another episode of The Real Journey of Entrepreneurship. My name is Anita Pierce, and I'm the founder and CEO of 11375. We're so glad to have you come join us. What I can tell you is, if you're listening, hopefully you're not driving, get some tea, get some coffee. If you're watching by video, sit on the couch and enjoy, because we are so excited to have you join us for another episode where we are unpacking what it really looks like to be in business. What I can tell you is that this space, we share information, business resources, and if you want to learn how to take the next level and step within your business, we're here to support you. At 11375, we provide resources, really good resources, and connecting the dots with business owners to help them to navigate the space of entrepreneurship. What we also do is we tell the truth about it. No, what is being promoted on social media, you don't start a business on Monday and have $1 million by Tuesday. There is specific processes that we engage in to help us to become really good at unpacking and creating spaces where we are visioning for our business. So welcome along. Also, I am going to ask, because I usually don't ask in the beginning, it's usually at the end. If you are a business owner who want to share their gift, another aspect of the journey of the entrepreneur, and tell your story, we want to interview you. So the information is there, the link, you have a QR code, you can email us or you can call us, DM us on social media, because we are looking for additional courageous business owners who want to share their story, want to share their gift, their creativity. So if that is you, the link is there. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. And guess who is here? I am not alone today, and I know you're glad, but I have the good fortune, best fortune of talking to courageous entrepreneurs who are in spaces just like we are, who are making impact, but also contributing to this world in a different way. Christine is no different, an entrepreneur just like myself, and more that Christine will tell. But you want to hear from me, but you don't, because I always say I have the best seat in the house where I can meet with courageous entrepreneurs who are willing to share the truth about their space and where they are contributing to this world. And my next guest is Christine. Hi, Christine. I'm going to bring you on.
Hi, Anita. I love your intro. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for saying yes to me. I really, really appreciate it. So, Christine, I always say the best individual to tell their story is the author. So, Christine, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and what you do in this space to make it better.
Thanks so much. I'm Christine Healey de Casanova, as you just said. I am the founder and the CEO of Contribute. And at Contribute, our mission is to help people across the globe transform into the best versions of themselves through the way they communicate. At home, I told you my throat was going to get stuck, right?
That's fine.
It's so
Listen,
funny.
we're talking, and it's perfectly okay to drink water. You're fine. So while you're drinking water, is it okay to share your website?
Sorry?
Is it okay that I share your website?
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you so
Awesome.
much. Yeah, so there we are. How to contribute greater value through powerful communication. And what I was trying to say until my throat is doing something weird is we're helping people do that both at work and at home. So we're looking at the whole person and the way that we communicate. We don't believe that communication skills, or as you see there, present with power, that presentation skills are something that you just put on when you get up on a stage. We're looking to help people communicate in ways that are authentic to them. But I want you to think about it like learning how to drive a car. And when we learn how to drive a car, we learn that you hit that accelerator to make the car move and you hit the brake to make it stop. Unless you're driving an EV, then it's you just lift your foot off the accelerator and stop. But the concept is that everybody's doing that same thing, those skills, but everybody has their own style of driving. So while we're teaching people how to communicate using these core skills, some people call them soft skills, we call them core skills, we are making sure that all the skills that we're helping you master, that it comes back to helping you just be yourself, be really comfortable connecting and communicating with others.
So thank you for that intro. So, Christine, how did you get started and why?
Oh,
Why? What is the why?
It's a complex answer. It goes back 24 years when I was a salesperson, and we had some people come in to train us on how to get along better, how to collaborate better. And I always thought I was going to be a teacher. I'd studied foreign languages, but I thought, I don't want to be a teacher teaching you French because I love French. I want you to see how it can help you and not just to eat really good cheese and bread and wine, especially for high schoolers. What's the point? And so I said, I'm going to go work in business first. Fast forward, I'm standing on the Eiffel Tower, so lucky, feeling so lucky, on the 14th of July. And that's a big day in France, the Revolution Day. And thinking, do I really want to be a teacher? And I really like interacting with adults. I really like this, but I was substitute teaching before I got my first job. I was tutoring people, so always teaching. Then these people came in, like I said, and they really sparked my attention. Consummate learner. So I was looking through how to sell better magazines back then. It's a long time ago, nothing online, but magazines. And a partner in my last firm had written an article about cross-cultural communication. And I thought maybe we should hire them. And when I looked up who they were, what kind of people they hire, my eyes filled up. I thought, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to continue to engage with business people, essentially selling, but I want to teach as well. And so I did that for 20 years for another company. And like a lot of people during the pandemic, I did a lot of soul searching and decided to step out, exit. I took a little break, did some soul searching, and realized this is what I love to do. I love to help people communicate better because I like to level the playing field. So if you look at our logo, the Contribute logo is 4 people around a table. And I want, and my colleagues want, to give everybody an equal opportunity to share their messages. And to do that, we need to help people find their voice, clarify those messages, find their courage and their confidence, But we also need to help others, maybe like me, I love to talk, as you can tell, others find their ears and learn to listen more attentively so that everybody at that table can contribute. And so taking what I learned before, but really being able to build it from scratch in the way that I knew it could be better.
So essentially, you took a risk on something that you were exposed to, that you needed to see in order for you to have the courage to step out. And so Contribute is here. And through the work that you're engaged in, your consultant practice, it really is forcing us to become better listeners. But in your intro, I really appreciate how you described that you're looking to support the whole human, right?
Yeah.
Because I can tell you that there are, I could think back to my corporate time.
Yeah.
And there was always, I had to show up a certain way, talk a certain way
I remember we talked about that.
here, right? And then if I'm with my peers, I talked a certain way, act a certain way in that specific space. When I got home, there was another dynamic. And I just remember how exhausting it's like, where am I going? Who am I at that point? Not that, and I want to provide clarity, because it's not that I wasn't being authentic. It's I was showing up in spaces where what do they say? When you're in Rome, do as Rome. So it was one of those things that I had to do because I was in that space. Now, as a business owner, I just choose to be one person. So would you be able to help unpack, for those who may have had my experience, or if you have clients that you work with, to help us to be able to communicate in all the spaces that we show up presently, specifically as business owners within the home, because we have so many layers. Would you be able to unpack that for our audience and for myself too?
Oh, it's such a big question, because I am, as I mentioned, I speak a number of foreign languages. So and I'm married to someone from South America. I am a fan of figuring out what is that other culture and how can I best, quote unquote, get along. But I do think, I will tell you personally, I remember saying to my brother-in-law once, after I teased him back in Spanish, and he looked at me with these big eyes, and I said, yeah, I feel like sometimes you don't know me. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, because I can't communicate as well yet. This was early days when I was still learning Chilean Spanish, which is a whole different kind of Spanish. But I have finally reached a level where I could tease him and interject and be more myself. And so it's about thinking what your goals are. What are your goals in business? What do you think is going to get you to where you want to go? Which is hard, because it does, what you're mentioning, a lot of people are calling code switching, right? And it's really hard until the culture itself starts to open up more and we recognize just how important diversity is. I like to say that the differences make a difference.
Right.
That when we allow people to be their whole selves and be more authentic, we're going to get better results. Over and over, they prove that. So the idea is how do you become authentic, but not the kind of authentic where you're offensive, right? It's like this, how do you make sure you're still speaking your truth? You're finding ways to do it that others can hear you, but at the same time, figuring out ways to challenge people. So, for example, I was meeting with a senior executive the other day, a woman, and she's a woman of color. And she said, here I am, I have this budget, I have all this clout, and yet I find sometimes that I'm still being talked over. I'm being interrupted. And I said, sometimes I hear from, in particular, women. And of course, there's the intersectionality of white women, women of color, women of a certain level of education. I mean, it gets so complex. There's a really good book called Our Separate Ways that I highly recommend people read. It's all interviews of women in business. In any case, my advice to her was, when someone does that and you see your idea just get lost or crushed, there's a way to bring it back. And it's a communication skill. And it is to say something like, Anita, so earlier, by the way, Anita, as if you would ever do that to me, but we'll play it out. Anita, if I understood you correctly, you were talking about how you have the senior people you might be reporting to, or the people who report to you, your peers, and then your home. And that sounds like it's really important to you, and want to make sure that we dig into that. Earlier, I was talking about X, and I wonder what you think of X. Could you tell me what you think of that? Or I open it up to the whole group if I'm in a group setting. So it's a way to honor where someone is and tell them that you've heard them, but bring it back. And then the other thing is, more and more, anytime you put an idea out on the table, if you can ask people what they think of it immediately. So you're getting people to talk about it, because I've often heard it said also that you have an idea, it goes on the table, and then 3-4 more ideas pile on top of it. And then suddenly someone else will say your idea, and everybody says, that's a great idea. Yeah. And you're lucky if they give you credit, right? If you have colleagues you trust and they give you credit. But it is a really tricky one. I think we know in our business that vulnerability is really important for people to trust you. And so my hope, and I'm trying every day, is to make sure that people see each other and hear each other. And that's what drives me. That's what makes me want to keep pushing for Contribute to reach more and more people.
So
but what else can I tell you?
I would like to unpack your last statement, where you mentioned about essentially when we come to the table that we see and hear each other. So let's talk about this, right?
Yeah.
Where we are in society, we can only navigate and control, the things that we have control over, right? So I do have a question just in terms of business owners, your experience. How do you, for someone who's just started a business, they just, decided to trust their gut, launch into this space of the world of creativity, and they now have a team that they are responsible, that they're building and responsible for, that comes from different cultures, level of exposures. How do you have someone, and I'll point to myself, whereas we know that we have a business goal.
Yes.
So how do we navigate that? Help us, Christine, help us.
Well, let me ask you back. There are so many elements of that. There's the hiring process. There's onboarding, which I could talk a whole hour about, because I'm really passionate about recruiting and onboarding and how they go hand in hand. And then giving people feedback and really being brave and being open to feedback in return, but creating and building trust and allowing people to work as teams. I heard today on NPR someone talking about, forgive me, I don't remember the name of the person. I was driving at 6 a.m. to Pilates, so forgive me, I'm not a morning person, trying to be. And he was talking about this idea of, what was the company name? I will remember it, but there's a company, and when they interview people, it's the biggest thing they're asking people to agree to, be aware about themselves. You will not be happy here if you don't come ready to get feedback and give it. And I smiled, because that's exactly what I would do when I would interview people, is I would actually look for an opportunity to give them feedback. It could be something small, and just to see their reaction, and then also ask them, tell me about a time you were given feedback where it went really well, that you were grateful for it. Tell me about a time you were given feedback and it didn't go so well. It didn't sit well with you. What did you do about that? Because I do think that you want to develop people, you want to empower people. You also want, you do know enough as an entrepreneur about your vision and what you want to happen and what you've seen not work, but you don't want to hold people back. when they have ideas and they have energy and they see the mission and take it on as well. So how do you give feedback to people, but first hire the people who are willing to receive it?
So essentially, what I heard is that there is a deeper process,
Mm,
um, that we are to be thinking about as we are growing and developing our businesses. And you ultimately started was recruiting,
yeah.
and also the interview process. And then once, they get hired, during orientation, I can share. There were points within my business where I really was not a great manager, not because I am mean or,
No,
not
never.
able to work with. It's just that I didn't really know how. I was
Mm,
transitioning from, working from with someone else, 9 to 5, and didn't have any real aspirations within this space. And now I'm here. I've
yeah.
improved a lot such time. But there was a point where um I took my experience from corporations where I do not like micromanaging. I think it's hard. I personally think it's
Right.
horrible
Right.
that you mentioned a few times about trust,
Yeah.
that it just shows that you are showing or believe that you hire someone that's not capable to manage the task, right?
Right.
And that was my interpretation. So earlier on, I had team members where I would give them a task and we wouldn't talk for like weeks. That's not
Mm.
appropriate. That's not appropriate, but it wasn't. And they would, and we had I thought was a method of communicating, which was once
Mhm.
a week, once a month. So I thought
Mhm.
that there was a proper cadence, but that was not what they needed. They
Yeah.
needed to see me. They needed me to show up. And I'm like, and at first I used to be like, why do you need to do, like, it was just a whole big
Oh
question
boy.
in myself. I've improved such time, but that's
Yeah.
usually, well, it's not for all, but when you're just getting started, the
Yeah.
transition, and this is why we need you, Christine, to help us to be able to navigate, and transition appropriately.
Yeah. Well, there are some simple things that you can do, and then there are some things you can invest in. Simple things are get better at being a good listener. Simple things are asking people what motivates them. Now you can see it and you can ask them questions about their weekend, for example, and they say, oh, for example, Thanksgiving's coming up, any holiday. Let's say you find out that they're hosting. You
Hmm.
can ask them about it. Oh, what do you like about hosting? How do you usually do it? You're going to learn a lot about a person when they talk through how they approach a task. If they're going on vacation, how do they plan it? You start to hear what motivates them just by watching closely. Now, some of us, I'm and you, are very expressive, so sometimes it's as much watching the person as it is listening to their words and following up with additional questions. So some people will give you a little answer because that's how they're built. And I love to say, I think I said it to you earlier, just before we went live, where I said, tell me more when we
Hmm.
were talking about family.
Thank
It's a
you.
very simple thing to say, tell me more. And then if you're giving feedback, and then what happened? And what else should I know? So it's usually when you ask for introverts, for example, which is my next point I'll make, but introverts, the first time you ask, how are you? They just, oh, thanks, good. How are you? They'll turn it right back around to you. It sometimes with some personality styles, communication styles, it takes the third time you ask in a different way for them to realize just you really mean it. You're actually making time for them. So it's getting better at listening, making the time, like you said. There are two more things I'll mention, but the one I was just alluding to is understanding people's communication style. So we talked about find out what motivates them, also finding out what style they are. What style of communication do they prefer? If I come in and I'm as chatty with someone who's chatty back, great. But if I'm chatty with someone else, we had a meeting this morning that went a little bit long, and I knew my colleague wanted it to be over, and later said, "Hey, thanks a lot for sticking with us on that call earlier." He's like, "Yeah." He wanted to get through it more quickly. So his patience level is different that way. So just understanding what they might need from you. And then finally, so you're looking at motivator, you're looking at communication style. The third piece is looking at the task. And you mentioned not being a micromanager. And then I think you were alluding to the fact that sometimes people don't want to be a micromanager, but then they swing the pendulum the other way. And they're like, the missing boss, right? The MIA boss. And so, but we can't be in the middle either sometimes, because you might have someone and they might not even be a new employee, but you're giving them a new task and they want you to be more present. They want you to set up goalposts and check in with them. Again, depending on that style, but also you have to look at the task and you have to weigh those things. There's a beautiful, what do I want to call it? Area of study that a gentleman who actually went to school here where I am, he went to the New Rochelle High School, yay, public schools. His name is Ken Blanchard. And I encourage your listeners to look it up. He created this framework called situational leadership. And situational leadership it's a very simple framework of looking at the task, the competency level of the person. And what you're doing is you're saying, okay, they're maybe this competent on the task, and inversely, then they need less time from you. They need less, right? No micromanaging. Versus, okay, the task is something brand new. I'm going to do a lot more communicating at the beginning and support. And you look at that both in terms of tasks, but also in terms of someone's evolution in your company. Are they ready? Are they at that, what I would call the fourth level of competency, and they're ready for the next step? They're ready for a promotion or to take on something really big. How do we as leaders treat that person, interact with that person? One thing they say is get even more vulnerable, let them in, tell them about the failures. In small businesses, show them the books, get really comfortable doing that if it's someone that you really think could take it to that next level. So I've just done a lot of talking, so I'm going to turn it back to you.
All right. So because I have a lot of questions, lots of questions, right? So Christine, throughout your follow-up, I heard trust. That kept coming up as a thing. So we were taught, unfortunately, when we went into the corporate environment, that you left your personal lives out of work, right? How do you, for someone who is building a business, you said ask questions, but what if they come with the mindset that, I don't want to talk to you, you're my boss. I don't want to tell you what's happening in my life. I don't want to. Like, how do you break down and create a space where they feel really comfortable? Before you answer, I can share how I have improved, right? Because I was one of those, you keep, things separated, right? Yeah. And the culture that I'm building within 11375, that doesn't work, right? Because life happens, right? And so if I am not aware, I mean, you don't have to go into, personal detail, but if something comes up, I want my team members to feel comfortable to share. So I say, hey, stuff is happening. It's not sexy. I'm like, it's not sexy right now, but it's happening.
Yeah. I mean, so the tricky thing is there are laws that dictate a little bit what we can ask about. So for example, in New York anyway, if someone takes a personal day, you can't ask them, were you sick? Were you, and so when I talk about listening and asking questions, I mean more around what is it that they want to do at work? What is it that drives them? When something went wrong, what was happening? Now, if they want to divulge to you, I remember working with a banker who said, this is such an important thing. It happened to me once. I had a guy coming in, an analyst coming in day after day, looking really haggard, tired, showing up late. And I was thinking, he's new to New York City. He's going out partying. That's what I did when I was his age. That's what's going on, right? And he said, and his performance was suffering. And I decided to sit down with him. And I said, what's going on? And he just burst into tears. And he said, my fiance and I broke up last week. I haven't slept. And it's that kind of thing. They can tell you, but you have to be, we can't pry. We can't interrogate. We can just be there, be present and ask. And I think a lot of times people will see something that's not working. People, I mean leaders, with all good intentions, they'll run in with solutions. That doesn't empower someone. That doesn't tell you what they really need. A lot of times leaders will come in and say, this is how I've done it. This is my story. When what we need to do is spend more time understanding why they did it this way. What's going on? What's going on? What's happening? And find that out. And then I think also on the other side of it, when things are going really well, don't stop asking, how's it going? What do you like about that work? Ask that next question. What did you like about it? What went well? What are you hoping to do next? And really find out what kind of talent and emerging talent you have on your team, I think is really important. And people, as I mentioned, feel seen. And two things happen. One, they want to work really hard for you. You want to pour on the love. They'll want to work hard for you. And if they don't, you'll know it sooner, and they'll know it sooner. And either you can help them decide this is where you play, or maybe you don't play in our space. But you can, the more that you're putting information on the table, so to speak, the more you can see what's happening, the more you can help people develop. And I always say there's regrettable attrition and unregrettable attrition. And regrettable attrition is when someone leaves because you didn't give them what they needed and you're really disappointed because they were a good talent. Unregrettable is when you've both had honest conversations and you decide that there is something else out there better for this person to do than to be in my company trying to make this work. But you get there faster and the person feels honored. So I've unfortunately had to let people go over my career. I'm sure you have too. And
Yes.
the beautiful thing is if you keep in touch with that person, right? If you're able to really help them see that there's probably something better, and you feel, and this is why onboarding to me is so important. You've given them every opportunity to get it right. And you're really just uncovering either the motivation isn't there and you're honest about that, or the skills aren't there and maybe we can't develop them.
Okay.
So that's what I would say about listening.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. You don't want to, you're having a really bad day. As an entrepreneur, it's like a roller coaster, right? I told my team, I think it was last Monday, I showed up to our sales meeting check-in, and I said to everybody, I just have to admit, I'm having, it's always a Monday, which is maybe part of the problem, but I'm having a lower day. And they were like, oh no. And they were there for me. Everybody was there. So we're human too, even leaders, right?
That's really, so you described it as a lower day.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
I did. What do you call it?
Oh, I just say today ain't it. I just
I love that.
ain't it today.
It's not happening today. Yeah.
But it usually happens. And that's because I start off with like, so I'll give you an example, in building business, there's a shift in mindset that I had to go through. I told you earlier, I wasn't the greatest, not because I'm not a humanly good person, but just I'm like,
same.
Yeah, it's just,
we have to learn the skills.
But now when we do our team meetings, which is once a week, virtually, and once a month we meet in person when we just, kind of get together and just do some sort of activity, whatever the activity is. And I find that I am very direct but kind, and but I just say, yeah, today's not it. I'm powering through, or it's just not it. But it's still, but there's a mindfulness, because we talked about this slightly earlier, right? I can use a lot more sleep, right? So I decided, right, you know what? I'm gonna put a little bit of, extra accessories on today, because they say if you look good, you feel good. I feel better, right? Even though I can use an extra bit of rest. So those little things in terms of like, sharing with, my team. And I just say, hey, it ain't it. Either they laughing because, laughing meaning, because I'm expressive. Oh, it ain't it today. Are you joking? Are you serious? I have like this weird sarcasm that either goes with folks if you know it or not. But yes, that's what I say. It's not it. But I like the way you stated it, that you're having a lower day. So what do you say to your colleagues when you're having a phenomenal day? Like, what does that look like for you?
Oh, that's nice to ask. I'm usually just I talk a lot and I'm telling them everything that's going well. Yeah, and I actually try to do that because it's a slog when I'm only 3 years in, and so I met with an old client the other day and she said, "I'm so proud of you. You told me you were doing this 3 years ago," and I thought, "You're so brave." And I said to her, "I feel braver now than I did then. Then it was like a calling.
Right.
I took a little time off. I worked with a coach and I said, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I've learned all these things over 20 years. I love it. This drives me." And the name Contribute came to me. Mm. And that was 3 years ago. It was just me. And I said, now I feel like I have to have more courage. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, well, now I have other people depending on me and wanting this and believing in where we're going to go in the vision. And I said, that can make it harder some days. So when things are going well, they all know it. Yeah. We use Slack. So we have a Slack channel where just a few days ago, they saw a list of about 10 different clients that we book meetings with, potential clients, I should say. Mm-hmm. Maybe I should say clients, manifest.
Yes, absolutely.
So they'll see that and it got them jazzed up. I know that they were pretty excited to see all that activity. And I also, even on the low days, I think it's really good to show, and this sounds so cliche because I think a lot of people are onto this, which I'm so glad about, but be grateful, right? And even more now in this environment that we're in, where at least half the country, right, didn't feel like it went their way.
Right.
It's be grateful for what you do have. I love what you said earlier, control what you can. So I have a planner, a productivity planner, and on the top of the page of every day, it says, I'm grateful for. And sometimes I'm writing my dog's ears because they're darn soft, right? Mm-hmm. But oftentimes, if I look back, I'm naming people on my team. Right. So I want them to know that. I think praise, honest, candid praise is just as important as the development pieces. I was coaching a woman, she's an executive director of a nonprofit, and she had me come and watch her in one of her meetings. And later, it's just a very simple piece of feedback. I said, I know you want people to feel they're doing a good job. And I said, this is how I heard you. That's great. And then you'd move on to the next thing. And I said, I know you're trying to tell them they're doing a good job. And I know you're a doer. It's one of the most productive people I know. If you want them to be productive, you got to tell them what was so great. It has to sound sincere. It has to be sincere. Right. So you should prepare before you get to the meeting, and then during the meeting, really tell them why they matter. And so that if I'm having a good day, it's also a lot of that. It's a lot of saying, I just feel so lucky that you're all part of this team.
And what I appreciate about what you're unpacking for us as business owners, business leaders, is that we can still tap into the human side and still generate revenue within our respective businesses. It does not have to be cutthroat. I run with a model, and I also say that we all can win. We just have to figure out our space. We can collaborate. Yeah. We just have to figure out what works and have something, mutually beneficial. So the language that, I'm building within our culture is, yes, competitive, awesomeness, bring all the jokes, and still we see each other and we're able to do some really amazing things that creates a social impact that is being envisioned within 11375. So I appreciate, what you are, elevating, because again, it business is challenging. It's challenging. Yeah. However, you're bringing an approach that I really, really like. And I'm hoping that, someone who's listening or watching can say, hey, think about your approach from recruiting to hiring to onboarding, providing feedback listening intently. Those are things that I heard. Those are things
You
that I
know,
heard.
it's interesting. We have a class that we call Lead with Empathy.
Mm,
And so many times, and you know how busy we are as entrepreneurs, I think I should rebrand it to Lead with Compassion, because I pride myself on being someone people think, you know, she's nice. But that does not mean that I don't hold someone accountable. It doesn't mean that I don't look to help people develop, because that is just as kind. And so when you do have to offboard someone,
mm,
when you do, there's compassion, right? Because empathy takes a lot, and we should be empathetic. We should try to imagine ourselves in the other person's shoes. Empathy is one of our driving values at Contribute. So empathize, try to picture being in that learner's position when we're in the classroom. And then the difference between that, I can be empathetic, but imagine you're struggling so much and you're reporting to me and you're struggling. If I over empathize with you, I'm not going to help you move forward.
right.
So a leader goes from that empathy to going, oh, I see where you are. I can imagine how hard it is. And compassionately, I'm going to help you move forward. We're going to help you develop the skills you need. I think I've said a number of times offboarding, but the truth is that that's not what you're aiming for, right?
Right.
You're aiming for helping someone get through and develop into more than they thought they could be.
And those
And
are part of the realities, so that's a part of the cycle of, you have an opportunity within your business, you need a task to be managed. And, if you set up the appropriate systems and if you do all the things that you believe are working,
yeah,
that you're supposed to work with. And if it doesn't work, that doesn't mean that you have to throw like hate mail. And this is for the reverse too. And I wanna like say this as business owners, and for those who have had the experience where they have been downsized, or you don't have to throw hate mail. Let me take it back. Don't throw hate mail at me. Don't throw hate mail at Christine and Contribute, because it's not um we're not being mean spirited. And I want to use that language very specifically. It's a part of the business cycle. Some folks are, you're in it, you do really well, you flow within that space, and then sometimes it just doesn't work. But I really appreciate what Christine is elevating, because the relationship doesn't have to end on a business side, yes, but from a human approach, there are other resources that you can still be connected to as a result of the relationship. So that's why I say don't throw hate, don't throw, because there's still maybe another opportunity that can come up while we're talking about this life cycle within the business. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, Christine, because sometimes I know I've been there where I started 11375 as a result of me getting downsized right after I had my little person, right? So can you imagine all the hate I could have? I had this was not the aspiration. This was not it.
yeah,
Not it.
yeah.
However, it's one of the beautiful blessings that I have as a result of me figuring it out and being courageous. So now, almost going into my 10th year because of the baby, right? I still maintain working relationships with those who, when I transition. So imagine if I was throwing hate mail. Imagine that.
Right. No, it doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
It
Doesn't
doesn't
work.
work. It is, when I left my old company, and I know they'd be okay with me saying this, it wasn't easy for either of us.
Mm,
It was a 20-year marriage. I was 13 years a
mm,
partner there. It wasn't easy. And I remember speaking to one of the employees at that place after. She said, "You seem so calm. You seem so," and I said, "Well, things don't always work out, right? And you shouldn't stay somewhere if it's not working." Now, that's not to say that you don't sometimes want to go bang your head on the wall and right, yeah, and wish for what felt like the safety of that more corporate environment. But then there are days where I was sitting across from my husband one day, and I hung up the phone with someone on my team, and I had tears in my eyes. He said, "What's going on?" And I said, I'm just so happy. I'm just so happy with this team I have. And you said it earlier, it doesn't happen overnight, right? It doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of effort and deliberate actions, deliberate caring about people, caring about your clients, not always knowing where it's going to go. We haven't talked about faith, but there's a lot of faith in believing in your mission and that it's going to work out.
I don't move without it these days. I don't. It's Christine and I were talking about earlier. Christine and I are fellow colleagues from the Goldman Sachs 10K SB. We were the original cohort 40. I say XL, I say that because when we met, we were strangers, right? We all were. It was a group of 30, what was it, 39, 40 of us, almost, there's 39 of us within our cohort. And we were at the time the largest cohort. We're still going to claim it anyway. I have to tell you that one of the things that came up often during our in-person sessions was about really taking a deeper look at ourselves as business owners, as and connecting it to the work and mission that we're doing. And each time faith comes up for me, right? Because for me, there are days I'm wondering, I'm like how? And I stop questioning how, and I just go, all right, whatever, we're gonna move this forward. But faith to me is not optional. It's not optional for me. I don't know about you, Christine, but it's not optional for me these days. It's not.
Same. No, same. It's they say when the world, have you heard of VUCA? Then the world is volatile, uncertain, chaotic, and ambiguous. They call it a VUCA state. Right? But when it's like that, so imagine you're in a storm. Your anchor, you're gonna hold on to your values. And so for us at Contribute, that's candor, empathy, being open. And that openness for me, underneath that open, is just trust in the universe that it's going in the direction it can go. And then excellence for us as well. Focus on not being perfect, just being excellent every day, get more excellent. But I think faith for so many entrepreneurs, whether they realize it or not, too, it has to be part of the mix, right? It has to be this. We're driven, right? We're driven by something that tells us to keep going, keep going, keep going. Because you start from nothing, really. And then suddenly, that's on a bad day, I think that's what is really important to do, too. We talked about being grateful and expressing that, but also looking back. So gratitude and looking back at all that you've done, reminding yourself of all you've done, because we, as entrepreneurs, we're always on to the next, the next, the next. How can we be better? How can we focus on being more excellent, as I just said? But we want to keep track of our contributions along the way.
But I also want to add faith and having sounding board. So we have in our peer group, I remember I was saying to myself, and as many people as I know, and I know I have someone said, you got a deep network. I said, yeah, but it's different. it's different when you have, so Christine and I can talk about, the fact that, you know what, I didn't make a dime today. And it's no judgment. What do you mean? You're in business. All the judgment is out the door. We can text, fortunately for us, we're in a group chat. It's busy, but it's ways where we can share resources, ask questions without judgment. We know that there are times when we're in our busy season, we make referrals and references, to one another. We're all within that peer group. So faith, peers, and drinking lots of water helps these days.
Yeah. Well, Anita, also, I do want to say you are so good at that on our WhatsApp group at responding to people. And you do have quite the network and I always wonder what the inside of your brain looks like, because it's not only that you're good at coming back with the resource, you do it very fast. So you're able to connect what someone might need. It's pretty amazing, and I'm grateful for it. So I'm really glad that we have that group. I think I remember Shanique, our colleague, our cohort member,
Yep.
Shanique Downs. She was saying at one of our get-togethers, people just don't understand. And you can have, she said, some of my best friends who aren't entrepreneurs just don't understand it. And they think that, I guess, when they're not watching us, it looks easy, right? They're thinking, oh, well, you're at home. I think she said, not at home, I'm working.
Right.
Yeah.
We're working. Yes.
So faith and peers, have been really helpful. I mean, I remember the day we all graduated, which is a year ago, and how grateful I am that we're all still in touch. It was almost a year ago, right? A couple of weeks from now.
A couple of weeks.
And just the tears for me. Just I came home. I was crying. My poor family. What is this about? And I was at the place the other day with one of my teammates. We use the Goldman Sachs space, which is fantastic. And we were walking out, and he's like, this place is pretty amazing. I said, oh, I wish I could live here every Thursday. So yeah, peers are really important.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for you.
I am grateful for you, Christine. You have, I'm hoping you know, and but I'm gonna say it. It has been delightful having you a part of my friend group. It really is. And in wrapping up, Christine, because I know that we can talk all day. What can you share just in wrapping up for those, from a humanistic approach that you are so amazing at helping to guide us? Some tips for business owners. Some tips for, I want to say husband and wives because, or tips as parents. How do we relate? Like, offer us some goodness, Christine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will offer from, I think, a mistake I made that I'm only realizing now. So I was brought up middle class. My parents, it was coupons all the way. It was grants for college. We applied. My mother had this book of grants you could look through. I mean, we applied for everything under the sun. We were just a family of doers. And so when I started out, I was very proud that I put money into my business, and then family money. And then I gave it back to the family. And now I know I should have kept it in the business. And I also should have borrowed money earlier on.
Right.
When I had my early big bumps in success and had proof of concept and big clients, because now where I'm like, we've got to take it to the next level. And now I've self-funded maybe too much. So that's one thing I would recommend, is that people don't get shy about borrowing other people's money. Someone told me rich people always borrow other people's money. They don't use their own. Okay. That, I think, systems, I'm so much calmer now than I was at the start, because we have these systems in place. I know what's going on. I can see what's going on. You have a lot of balls up in the air, and you want to make sure you know where they all are. So systems for me. And then taking time off, vacations. Your family needs you to, and you need to, so you can come back refreshed. You can step outside, and often when we step outside, we bring that outside back in, and we get even more creative and innovative about what we're doing in our business, and we have new energy. So those are things that I think are important. But I'm also just a big believer in saying thank you. It's been what I was taught to do from very little, and I think there's so many reasons to be thankful if your business is going in a direction, not backwards. So what else can I tell you?
Where are you going next with your business?
So we are looking to borrow money, like I just talked about. We are looking to use the systems we're spending a lot of money right now on these systems for sales.
Right.
So we've invested in a CRM, we've invested in something called Zoom Info, which is really helpful. It's a way of looking at finding targets, understanding your clients. It's been really helpful. We've been going to conferences, which are not inexpensive. These are conferences that actually link people in my business up with people who buy. You know that I want to come to 11375 so we can talk about pursuing our, I can't even remember the words.
So
I am the women's
certification for women
Yeah.
minorities.
So we are, but we don't have the certification. And we know that the government has a lot of funds out there for the things that we do. And we just have to make time and space. And I think we need to invest in those kind of things as well. We also probably need to invest in a little bit more going on in social media. So we're looking to invest more and just really excited about, I mean, the beauty of our business is we develop people, right? We help people be the best version of themselves, but also in my team, we help develop one another. And so it's very, very exciting to do what we do. It's time to take it to the next level. So I called one of my biggest clients. They were a client of mine for 20 years, but they're such a big client, a global bank, that I was too shy to call them for the past 3 years. To call them, and I've called them, I've stayed in touch, but to call them and say, put me in, coach, I'm ready. And so I called one of them. We met last week and she said, I can't wait to tell people you're back. So we'll see. Fingers crossed, because we are ready. I have this amazing team. I feel like that another cliche, but build it and they will come. I built it and they're here and they are, wow. I have an amazing team of people. They are smart. They're empathetic. I really benefited from the Great Resignation, from a lot of people doing what I did, which is really think about where are you and where do you want to be? And they've come from business. So they've been in the classroom. They've been in the position of our learners. My goodness, I could talk all day with you.
I
You
know.
have really good questions.
I know. And so, Christine, before we transition to other parts of our lives, I got a couple of fun questions.
Oh, gosh.
So, these days, do you prefer sneakers or shoes?
Ooh, can I say slippers?
Okay, this is a first.
I love a good slipper. No, I like a good pair of shoes. Yeah. I was walking somewhere the other day. I don't even remember where I was. And someone said, ooh, you walk with such determination. And it was because the shoes are making that noise because I was determined. I love a good pair of sneakers, but I'm in Pilates for about 3 years now. And we wear little socks.
Socks. And now slippers.
What about you? Sneakers or shoes, Anita?
So it depends on the day. So I am a not converted heel wearer. I love heels.
Yeah.
I am 5'4", but I also recently turned 49. So I try to be responsible as needed. So a good heel, I'm not giving them up. I love what I call the mom shoe. They're not, what's the word, sponsoring me, but I love me a good funky Converse. Like I love I call the mom shoe. And so, yes, I do both, combination of both, but the heels are now on occasion, whereas I used to walk in them very appropriately. So yes. So next question, Christine. Okay. Barring any food sensitivities, what is it, pizza or burgers?
Ooh. So it used to be pizza all the way. But I am gluten sensitive now. It's just no fun. Yeah. No fun. So I love a really good burger because if you can get a really good gluten-free bun, I like a good burger.
Yeah, I'm hungry. That's probably why I'm asking. Yeah. And so again, landing in food, smoothies or ice cream?
Oh, really? I have to choose? I mean, we make a smoothie every day. Best thing I invested in was a refurbished Vitamix right after Christmas because people return them if they get two. So there are weddings and there are Christmas gifts. People don't want them or they don't like the color and they can't put them back on the shelves. So you go to your Williams Sonoma and you look up their refurbished Vitamix and you get a good deal on it.
Okay, you see how I'm leaning in because I did not know that existed. Wow.
I didn't either. I don't know how. You know what it was? I was desperate for one many years ago. I was desperate for one because I was buying smoothies and I was like, what am I doing? They're so expensive. I can do this at home. And so I mapped it out. I like to do my research. I'm a research person. And I found out you get these refurbished ones. I called them. I said, how does this work? I don't want it to break down. They said, oh, no, they're usually just, and I said, oh, right after Christmas would probably be a good time. They'll have some on the shelf. And indeed they did. And we use it at least. So there are 3 of us in the house that use it regularly. So it might be used 3 times a day some days. But I do love ice cream. I'm from Rhode Island. If you ever go to Rhode Island, check out Brickley's ice cream. Wow. And just wait in the line. It'll be worth it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So additional gems that I was not expecting. I told you this was going to be very, very wonderful. Christine, I love you. And I want to share you in this space. Happy to do so. Please check out Christine. You can connect with Christine on LinkedIn, Christine Healey de Casanova. And, I always put out a caveat because whenever I share my friends, we are in business. Please do not spam us inappropriately. When I mean spam, I mean don't spam us. If you want to connect appropriately. If you want to do business, perfect. Because that's what we are in business, to do business with one another and also to change the part of the world that we want to see in this space. So I'm sending you so much love, Christine. So much for taking time out of your phenomenal day to help us as business owners how to communicate better. I'm sending you lots of love, giving you a virtual kiss. I need to see you in person, hopefully during our reunions.
Yes.
But continue to be well. Talk to you again soon.
Okay. Thank you so much. What an honor. Take care, Anita.
All right. Bye-bye. So friends, there you have it. I am equally grateful when I tell you that my cohort, you've seen a few of them in this space, are awesome. They're awesome. And I want to just continue to elevate the fact that what Christine mentioned was about really providing resources to help us to become better as business owners, talking to us from a human approach, helping you to improve as a manager. And it lies what we learn deeply within the space of trusting, faith, and also having a roadmap to help you to be successful. And that roadmap is really just thinking about what that looks like for you, your team, your business. And so, I am not going to leave you. Christine's information is scrolling. If you want to reach out to Christine on LinkedIn, again, you can tell her that, hey, I saw you on the show. Let me in, but don't spam her. But also you can check out contributeco.com and you can reach out to actually conduct business with Christine and her team, which I'm so grateful. She's so warm and so kind and also a powerhouse. So don't forget about that. I also wanted to share some just additional resources. If you are part of the New York City market, there are a number of the NYC Small Business Resource Network out there. A lot of the services they have available for free. You do not have to pay for these resources that are connected there. So it's out there. This is NYC Small Business Resource Network. And if they have one-to-ones and all these other phenomenal things that you can take advantage of. The second thing that I always advocate, Christine and I talked about having a peer group. The peer group comes as a result of us being connected as business owners, but there's another pathway. If you are not, connected as a part of the 10KSB through Goldman Sachs or the other programs that they have, or other business accelerators that exist, there are chambers of commerce that exist within the 5 boroughs, in the upstate market, downstate market. They're all over. And they're member-based businesses. You have the U.S. Black Chamber, Upstate New York Black Chamber, Hispanic, one in Staten Island, one is Brooklyn, one in Manhattan. There are so many, but there are so many benefits of you connecting with these specific chambers and member-based organizations that you can tap in, gain access to networks, and also build relationships to help you to either do collaborations, business collaborations, or other. So I just wanted to share that because that's always out there. And if you are interested in learning more about our early bird for the Full Circle Business Brunch experience, I am so excited that we are going to be celebrating 10 years in business. Every time I think about it, it is really a faith act of faith that I am here as of next year, 10 years in business. And you want to know how I know that it's 10 years? Because my beautiful brown soul reminds me, Mommy, it's 10 years. I'm going to be 10 years old. And that is where the transition lies. But I am excited to celebrate with her and hoping that you're willing to celebrate with me during the Full Circle Business Brunch. It is going to be held on Saturday, March 15th, 2025. We are opening up. We have an early registration list for ads and sponsorship. If you want to purchase tickets, if you want to do ads, we have a form that we will be sharing at the end as well, but also wanted you to take a peek into what some of the what happened this past year, so you can get a sense as to the type of work that we are engaged in. And so I am really excited to have you join us. Please do not forget to like, share, and follow us on YouTube, on all of the social platforms at 11375. We are super excited to just have you here to support us, to watch, and to also learn from our dynamic peer group. Christine was amazing, and I hope that you're able to reach out to her and to help you to navigate how you can approach doing business better within your space and also within the other spaces that you exist as well. So stay tuned for more as we continue to grow and develop within the 11375. And I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Thank you so much for joining us today. So long. Welcome to 11375. My name is Anita Pierce, and I am your Chief Experience Officer. At 11375, we offer strategic alignment solutions specific to you and your business goals, and also connecting everything with social impact. So if you are looking for a really amazing organization where we help you to focus your strategy and connecting it with social impact, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are on all the social platforms, and you can contact us at 11375.
Hello, I'm Savannah. Welcome to our 3rd annual Full Circle Business Brunch.
The idea of regularly getting together as a business owner with your employees and talking about safety is really, really important. Find out from the people who are working for you, what risks do they see in the workplace? What dangers or hazards are they worried about or are they concerned with, so that you can work together to address them?
My business is called Joshua Prince I started my business because of my mom, because she has a business.
This is my third time attending Anita's Full Circle Brunch. One of the things that I'm going to take away is like prioritizing my mental health. And one of the things that stuck out to me is like how you talk to yourself.
So many times, something didn't go well that day. We can make it seem like it's the whole business is falling apart, and that's not always the case, right? And we just want to make sure that we're speaking kindly to ourselves.
As entrepreneurs, we're all grinding, right? We're all trying to move to that next task. If I believe I am going to be able to reach my revenue goal for the next month, then I'm going to keep a positive mindset around that. I believe it's happening.
Having a business is like a child, right? And you just really want it to develop, so you really put your all into it. When you have healthy relationships outside of your business, you're going to show up in your business a healthy person. I learned so much about insuring the business and all the various aspects that I need to incorporate personally in my own business.
What I gained from today's session is about credit. That's what struck me the most, was credit, because I'm starting to do credit because I'm a college student and I didn't start my credit yet. So I feel like it's a fundamental thing to start doing.
Having credit is the ability to buy now and pay later. Your score is a 3-digit predictive number, predictive of certain behaviors, which is loan repayment.
It has been a very, very engaging afternoon meeting with other entrepreneurs. And one of the biggest things I've taken away is the need to access capital for my business.
Cash flow is much more than money in the bank. Okay, so we understand that cash flow is the flow of money coming in and out of the account. It's that timing and that gap in between those transactions is which you need to manage.
When you apply for a loan or a credit card, you have to have somebody guaranteeing that credit. That's a way to ensure that the bank has somebody, just in case something was to happen, there's a backup plan, right? Somebody is responsible for that card.
I'm learning how to invest. I'm learning how to build credit for my business. I'm learning how important it is to document and separate business from personal financial accounts. And, I'm ready to get started.
When starting my first business, nobody taught me about investing. Is there a different mindset between being an entrepreneur and being an investor?
It depends on what you are investing in. Are you investing as a passive investor or as an active investor? That changes things. Are you investing with excess capital or the money you need to get back tomorrow?
I am full of joy and gratitude and want to thank you all for taking time to invest in 11375. This week I have been dealing with the role that I play as a leader, manager, business owner. And something that came up frequently, specifically this week, deals with the fact of how we treat the people that partner or choose to work with our business. And every day there is always a choice to uplift or a choice to bring down. And that choice is daily. Do I minimize the people that are helping to grow my vision, my dream, or do I provide a space where we are growing and developing together? It's not easy. Every day is a choice.